Today I would like to talk to you about the practice that's called dogfooding and how it helped us to bridge the gap between our dreams about our products and the real world of real users. So what dogfooding is a practice when basically you use your own product that you develop. It was popularized by some Microsoft manager, but basically the gist is that if you develop a piece of software, you should be ready to use it to understand what the users are feeling. And of course, we need to talk a little bit about InDrive because every implementation depends on the context of the company. So what InDrive is a ride-hailing application for Android and iOS. And we're the second most downloaded, so we are basically right behind Uber. 60 million monthly users, 48 now, already 49 countries, 4,000 employees, 700 engineers, the number went up. And it's mostly a remote team for the engineers. We've got offices in Kazakhstan and Cyprus, but they're mostly optional, and that might be relevant. And we have weekly mobile releases. And all of this tells us that we do not want our application to fail, because if we have a failure for like 5 minutes, we're affecting millions of users and we're losing millions of money. So that's why we need to understand what's happening inside the user's world, what's happening with our application. And for now, let's talk about these types of applications. The applications that are in many countries and have many users, and what problems do they have and what we need to solve on a daily basis. So the first problem is mobile devices, a diverse landscape of different kinds of mobile devices, from flagships to all the way down to the budget devices. And our application InDrive is positioned as a discounter app because we do not use algorithms which provide users with the possibility to bid each other and to offer money for the rides. So that means that we have a user base that has a lot of users with budget devices. So if you look at the most popular devices, of course, you will have those ones. Like maybe you have some of them in your pocket. So I think one of them is recording me right now. But if you really look at this long tail of all the, like 80% of our users, this would be like those devices. Are there any mobile testers here? Could you raise your hands? Okay. Have you touched any one of those?
Yes, we do.
Whoa! Which one?
Especially my company, our majority of our clients are based in Asia.
Uh-huh.
So in Asia, they use different Chinese company brands.
Uh-huh.
Techno, Oppo, all of these.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I have experience with that.
Yeah, I think. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. That's nice to hear because I've held like this Xperia once, and that's it. I've never heard about I've heard about the brands, but the devices, nope. And the problem that they have quite interesting quirks sometimes. So there are devices with 2 gigabytes of RAM that just shut down any application that goes beyond 500. Just immediately, no questions asked, and that might be relevant in the future. Second problem is mobile carriers. I found some picture of Africa, but basically we have this all around the world. So each country has 3 to 6 to 9 mobile carriers. And the problem is usually not the internet speed. This could be simulated easily. The problem is usually in carrier quirks and government regulations. Because sometimes in some countries, some servers might be blocked because of some law, and the application might be behaving strangely. Next problem are mapping services. We actually use 3 of them, the Google Maps, the 2GIS, and the OpenStreetMap. And the problem is that in different countries we do different services. So there was a real problem when we fixed the bug for the Google Maps and we released it, and tester that was in Kazakhstan checked this bug and everything was fine and dandy until we got a crash in Peru, like the whole country. And Peru is quite a big country with quite a big part of revenue. The problem was that we haven't checked this fix for the OpenStreetMaps, and they crashed, and that was not too convenient. Next up, payment providers. Again, it's written big variety there. It's actually 3-4 payment providers per country, 48 countries, you know the drill. The thing is that they have, like, some providers have decent sandboxes to test payments, and payments is like the most interesting part of the application because we in IT, we're just spending money. Drivers are the ones who are bringing us money, so payments is interesting, but like 10% of those providers have decent sandboxes. All of the rest don't, so you really need real credit cards to test those in place, and that might be a problem. And finally, feature toggles. We've talked about them today. The problem with feature toggles is they tend to, how is it called, when the cell separates one from another. And the thing is that they're growing at an exponential rate, and right after a certain number, you have these problems. So this, it's in Russian, but I think you can understand. This thing is the new service that we are providing, and that was under a feature toggle. The thing under it is the service is the driver notifications that was also deployed, but this was only for Kazakhstan, and this was for like three countries, including Kazakhstan. And the most interesting thing that the clicky cross that should be here to close it is nowhere there. So on some devices you couldn't even close this, and we expected that this thing will bring us new users, and we've seen a very sharp drop in user registration after implementing those. So the thing is that in every country we have dozens, actually like hundreds of feature toggles that might be conflicting. And if you're doing a feature toggle for Kazakhstan and the same feature toggle for all the countries of the former USSR, those in Kazakhstan, they intersect. But it's not one intersection, it's like tens and thousands of intersections. So that might be a problem. All in all, we can understand that we can't test this system just from the office, because if you try to even imagine the system to emulate this behavior in the office, you won't make it. And I'm talking about imagination, not even building this system, but just creating a draft of it will be just over the limits. So that's why we understood that we need to get data from real users, and we tried to do this in some different ways. So I call this Excels from business, not the spreadsheets. Once or twice, maybe once every 2 months, we've got Excel sheets from business that looked like those, that had some prioritized suggestion here. It's written top here, that means it's prioritized. And those were not always bugs. Those were mostly suggestions, like let's have a driver introduction screen. But sometimes there were bugs, and they were not too good, because I remember the thing that wrote like retry error. Which one? Like what country? Maybe like how much users got it? We don't know. So no non-specific issues, no context whatsoever, and mostly they're not bugs, they're like features, maybe future features. So we also tried to work with voice of customer. Basically, this is a big name for reports from support and from the stores. Again, what we were doing with this is we gathered them all and then in one big table, and then went through the AI assistant to find some big issues, and big issues were really found. The problem is that you can find those issues using metrics, not the voice of customer, but what you can't find are the smaller issues and anything useful, really, because you can understand that your application is not working for some user, but why isn't it working? Nobody will write you that. They will write that your application is bad and they won't use it ever. And that's a pity. No, that's real pity for us, because they pay us money. And one more problem is the delay of those reports. Because if you release a faulty feature, like 1,000 users will need to find it, and then like 1% of them will report this, and then we need to collect those reports and get this in those table, and then from those table it needs to go to someone who will make a decision to fix it, and then to the team who will be fixing it. So that may take like, what, weeks, months? So not a good of a solution. Reports from business trip. We actually have business developers that go around the world speaking with our real users and trying to understand what they need, what needs to be done best. So we asked them to report the features, and that was also some kind of funny. Basically, this is one of our business developers driving, and the driver is showing him the problem that happened there. So this is a screenshot technically, but like there's no technical information there. There's no details, no logs, and again, it's hard to report anything if you're sitting next to the driver, shotgun riding on some taxi in Peru, and trying to report a bug. So most of those things went through Slack, and this is a mess in and of itself because we had like 10 different groups in Slack dedicated to the reports. They were separated in some ways. But the problem is when you try to collect those reports, because they're different, but they have duplicates. And after a certain time, we asked the people to try and tag those reports. That worked, 20% of the cases. Then we also, we've actually implemented an AI assistant. And this is an insight that I got. Insights are in green, and there will be a lot of them, so bear with me. And for those of you who actually see the screen, because, you can see it from here. Here are 3 highly paid, highly motivated people just ignoring the bot. Because it really tries to ask them questions and make them to create an issue. So basically, it asks the questions for where the issue happens, and then there's some discussion, and there's once again he tries, and then the third motivated person just creates the bug himself. So if you need your messages to be ignored for some reasons, I will give you 2 good reasons in this speech. Just show the people that there is no real person behind the messages. They will tune out instantly and they won't talk to it. We actually had like 50 tries on those bots and we got 1 bug from it. So that's that. And most of it, also it's quite expensive because sometimes we also send our product managers there. And that's not only a problem of paying for a business trip for a product manager, but it's the problem with cost of delay, because when product manager is riding somewhere in Mexico with a driver, he's not with his team developing new features. So this is also expensive. Next up, what we tried are major field testing. Basically, we've done 2 of them in Cyprus. We've had our tech guys from the Cyprus office gather and ride as taxi drivers and passengers. This was a closed testing, and report bugs. The report quality was actually better. I won't say it was good, but it was better. The problem with this is, again, we are a mobile application. So if you need to report something and you're a driver, you can't actually, because we've made a Google form, but filling a Google form with screenshots from a mobile device is a tedious task, to say it least. So we got a second person. We called him, I think, co-driver or something like this.
Co-pilot.
Co-pilot, yeah. Actually, it was co-pilot before co-pilot, so hipster thing. So he was just writing down the bugs, and the third person there is the passenger. So we need to have 3 people in 1 car driving for like at least 15 minutes just to test some of the bugs. And again, those are tech guys, the most highly paid engineers we have, and they're not doing their job. They're not developing code, they're not providing infrastructure, they're not even testing the application in an effective way. They're just writing and finding some of the bugs. That's a problem of expensiveness. Second thing is, again, you have a screenshot, maybe you have a video sometimes, but it's hard to understand it. So maybe you need to ask questions to someone. And again, this generates a lot of delays and trying to understand the issues. And also, all of those issues were reported either to Telegram chat or Slack chat or a Google form. But you need to manually bring them from the Google form to your task tracker, Jira. And this also, we've spent a lot of time just doing this. So this was very expensive. Finally, we've came up with valuable information criteria. Basically, what we need to have in a bug report, what we need a bug report be actually to be of some value for us. Because the thing we need is not only find bugs, but to fix them. And we need some of the criteria there. So what could you suggest? You can just shout out from where you're sitting. Yep.
Steps to produce.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This would be nice. Okay. Something else? Yeah.
Very good solution for your company.
Sure. Okay. Approach me after the talk.
For managing all the app
Uh-huh.
issues, you can use web-based APIs
Uh-huh.
from the phone.
Uh-huh.
You don't need to rely on the native app.
Uh-huh.
The native app.
Oh, we've tried to go this way, but this one nowhere. Okay. Yeah.
Good ticketing system that users fill.
Yes.
needed information.
Yes. Ticketing system for the users. Yeah. Anything else?
GPS.
Oh, yeah. Coordinates. Okay. Okay. Basically, we've came up with 5 of them. Those are not like the exact things that need to be in the bug. There is a more like how it should look like. So first of all, it's self-sufficiency. I've measured it actually, and if you need to ask one question to understand what is happening inside a bug, you're multiplying the time to process the issue tenfold. And this is not a fixing time, this is processing time. So just to understand what's happening with the issue, it sounds bad, but actually it's like it's 1 minute versus 10 minutes because you're asking someone and median time to reply of a user in Slack on a working hour is 10 minutes. So everything should be inside the bug report. The logs, the screenshots, what has happened, some kind of description, everything. Next thing is user convenience. I will stress it during this talk, but you can't force a user to report correctly. Again, you can think of adding a lot of mandatory fields to a report and just get 1 report instead of 10. It might be good report, usually it won't, but you can't force a user to do the correct report, so user should have a convenient possibility to make a report. Next up is processing convenience, again the ticketing system, because if you need to juggle 10 Slack chats and 5 Excels and maybe some Telegram chats and maybe someone approached you in the corridor and told about a bug, this would be quite tedious to actually gather in some place and filter and deduplicate, etc. So you need to get them filterable and in one place. Fourth is classification. You don't want bugs and feature requests to mix together because a bug usually can be fixed within a sprint or 2, usually. A feature request might take up a year, and you don't want to mix them and send them to the teams. And finally, representativeness. I like this word, because it's very inconvenient if your app crashes. What's much more inconvenient if it crashes in 1 million devices instead of 1 device. So we need to understand how much cases do we have. So those are criteria that we have found, and that's when we are going to discuss the dogfooding. And I've divided it arbitrarily on 4 stages. But basically, what we did first is we did pilot launch, and we actually have had a thing with this, which usually you won't have. We had a support from 2 leaders of our company. And this, I won't like talk this down. This was actually a very big asset. So a new CDO that joined our company, he actually had experience in dogfooding, and he noticed that our employees are not usually using our application. So he suggested us a vendor who could do this, and also suggested how we can practice this. And second thing is that our CEO is very fond of user feedback, and actually InDrive was born as a community of users first, back like, 12, 13 years ago in Yakutsk. And he also proliferated this. So this was a very good asset. We actually, usually we implement those things in like 2 quarters or up to a year, but this was implemented in 1 quarter. So if you don't have this, try to acquire it. Yeah. You know how to be beautiful without anything? Yeah. Genetics. Yeah, genetics. Just try. Yeah, so we had those. Okay. So what we did is we agreed on the pilot launch with the contractor. We integrated the library into our application, and we installed it to just the nearest team members. It was like a corridor testing. And let's talk a little bit about what software we're using. It's called Instabug, and it got a little bit messed up screen of an iPhone, 6. So basically what Instabug does is it allows you to let the users report by shaking a phone. So you just shake a phone and report form comes up. I like to call this rate shake. And what you can do with this is you can add texts, you can add screenshots, you can add videos, you can add voicemails if you're for some reason like it. But moreover, the most important thing is that it automatically adds all the technical information. So user ID, geolocation, network logs, all other sorts of logs that you will allow it. It adds it to the bug report and creates a separate entity. And what's more important is the Jira integration, because it can create a separate entity in a Jira and add everything there. And you won't ever need to use any other system or even the Instabug interface to work with this. They have a decent interface, but like Jira's not better, but like you know it. And so we've finally achieved like 3 of our 5 criteria, because we have all of the things in the bug. We have the user convenience, because shaking and tapping some buttons and entering a little bit of text and having separate screenshots that were taken before you shoot is always a convenient thing. And we have processing convenience, because we're using Jira, and all of you know what Jira is. That's actually one more insight: standardize your tools whenever it's possible. First of all, if you're trying to implement a shiny new solution with a great new functions, you think, do you need it? Because sometimes you can just make do with what you have. But if you really need this solution, align all of the interactions of the people with the instruments that they already use. Because technical solution is simple. We are tech guys here. Like implementing a new service may take days, maybe a week or two, maybe a sprint or two. But teaching the people to use this service is where the real costs lie. So try not to do this. Out of the pilot launch, we actually finished it and continued. That's just a simple slide. And we also agreed to purchase the software. And that's another insight: bad forgiveness, not permission. I often see people that go to the higher-ups with the ideas or of some sort, or like, let's do this. But it's not actually a good solution if you're speaking to business. A good solution is to make an MVP, make a small thing, and then go to the business guy and ask them to scale it. Because basically you've done all of their job of a solution of should we not, and your boil is down not to a solution, not to a decision, but a calculation. And calculation has only one right answer. So a calculation is, do we scale it? And preparing the data and going the extra mile, doing the legwork for the people is always a good thing, not only in the talks. After we did the pilot, we needed to find some of our first users, and that's when we actually introduced our internal communications teams, and they did a tremendous job. We've brainstormed a little and started the Bug Shaker project. I like the name actually. The problem is that inside the company, we, the tech guys, we're using the term Instabug, and so have you reported this on Instabug? No one knows this term. Bug Shakers, yeah, okay, yeah, everyone heard about that. And the internal communications team just did their best. We had news on our tech portal, we had QR codes everywhere in the offices, and we had leaderboards that were posted weekly with the bugs, etc. And after some time, we've actually tried to focus on to our main tech offices, Cyprus and Kazakhstan. And there was a quite interesting thing, because in Kazakhstan, InDrive application is quite popular. It's actually more popular there than the competitors, some of the competitors. And we started to get good reports from our employees. In Cyprus, it's quite heavily, taxi is quite heavily regulated. So application there is launched in a test mode, but in Cyprus, there are a lot of business developers who go to different countries to work there, and we started getting reports from the markets that are very valuable for us, like LATAM. From our side, we expected there will be a lot of questions, and we created a support chat for participants. And boy, oh boy, there were questions. Like, we haven't even had time to answer all of them, so we've immediately started to write documentation. That's where two things came in handy: my experience with teaching people and the AI models, the LLMs, because I just asked ChatGPT to get rid of all the lead speak that was there. And actually, it was quite complicated because we needed people to enroll in the program and then send them a message, and then they needed to join the beta on Android or use test flight application on iOS. And they were not only tech guys, but most of them managed, and this was quite nice. Another insight: document everything right from the start. You won't make a perfect documentation, but you should have some documentation to start the process. If the question happens 3 or more times, it goes directly into the FAQ section, because it's much easier to send a link to the FAQ than to answer everything once more. And if you have forms, some automation, some documentation, well-placed interns, if you have interns, really help with all of those processes. So don't skip it. And second insight: do not ever answer in a public chat from your personal account. Because if you answer just one person, like, the whole support chat is now in your personal messages. And you're just solving everyone's problem. So that's one of the good reasons to anonymize your reply, or you can go directly to the personal messages. I actually did this. I've seen the message, I understand that I can answer it, and I got directly to the personal messages for the guy who asked the questions and told him, please do not tell that I answered your questions, because I do not want to be a support person. And finally, when we started our first launch, we've got 550 registration per quarter. We actually aimed for 500, so that's like 10% more, and a lot of free testers. And this is basically a very important result for our company. So like much more testers that we have, like 5 times, six times more than we have in-house testers. And those people were really testing the company's product in real conditions. So right after that, we've got our problems. Because when you scale, you get problems. And some of the technical solutions that we've made to fix them. You remember the valuable information criteria? We've solved those one, but there are 2 of those. And we actually tried to implement this by getting the reports that we get from the users to the cross-functional teams. We have like 50 of them, to the cross-functional teams, because a cross-functional team knows its functionality much better, and they understand what is a bug, what is a feature, what might be a feature request, what already has a feature request. And that's the second thing, the representativeness. If the team knows about this issue, then they can just link the new report to this issue, and then it might help them to reproduce it, because not all of the bugs that are in the bug tracking system have the logs, but Instabug issues do. The problem was that we really met a lot of pushback there, because those are user reports. You might think that this is a job of customer support, but we do not have the amount of reports to get this to the customer support, because of course 95% of them are meh, but some of them might be critical, and support is just not ready for that. And second thing is, support engineers do not have the knowledge of the software. They might not understand if it is a feature request. And actually, speaking of the user reports from the users will always be a compromise, because as a user on a mobile phone, you're limited to typing on not too good of a keyboard and to some screenshots. And also, you can't actually force users to make reports about bugs, because when you get the report buttons, the next thing you will have there is like, a driver was rude, a driver didn't accept the bill, or let's do a social project. This is a very nice thing to have, but we just closed those issues. But yeah, teams do not want to work with this. We actually did a very bad thing. We tried to add those reports to our main project. This was a dumpster fire because in our main bug project, we have like confirmed issues. We know this is an issue, a team can take it, a team can set some story points with it and start working. When you're writing reports, team now needs to understand if this is an issue, if it has some duplicates, maybe it's a feature request, does it have the necessary information, and all of those things, and we've broke a lot of metrics. So don't do this, just don't try. Reports are reports, bugs are bugs, those are separate entities. I will tell you later how we converted one from the other. And second thing is, we understood this and we made a separate project in Jira. We called it Beta. That would bite me in the ass later. And there we got all of the reports from Instabug, and we also could work with some fields. It was a separate project, so it was quite convenient to do automation for it. After this, we understood that we can't make the teams to analyze the bugs. And I have too small of a team to analyze 50 to 80 bugs per week. So we needed to automate this. And automation, we started. First of all, the distributions by the teams, because we still need the teams to look at those issues, but just addressed only to them. So what we did is we made a ChatGPT assistant, and we made a list of teams and their responsibilities for the functionality. And this assistant basically took the text from the issue, it ran it through this list, and it just output the name of the team that might be working with this. This was working with a Python script on GitHub Actions, and basically the script just ran once a day and worked with Jira API and set a custom field in Jira for a team name, and that was it. By the way, I will be talking a lot about automations here. My team at that time was 3 managers and 3 manual testers, and like manual testers with no experience with code. Okay, maybe I read a book about code back in the 8th grade, but that was it. So all of the automations that we're speaking, that I'm telling you about here, were made by the teams using ChatGPT and Claude, not the IDE or no, just like chat interface. Python scripts helped us a lot. We also tried to do this using visual programming, if you heard about Zapier. I've already used the word dumpster fire, but I will just say, yeah. So if you want a funny story of how I tried to use Zapier, just approach me later, I will tell you. And this is one more insight. If you want done something right, do it yourself, obviously. You need to hoard the expertise that you regularly use. If you regularly need to do some things like having an access somewhere, or having some skill that you require, or having some recurring task that you always get to the other team and it is like delayed, try to bring it in-house. Try to teach your people to do this. A couple examples. Historically, I have a Jira administration rights. I shouldn't, really, but I have. And this actually helps me a lot with doing different kinds of automations, changing fields, without addressing Jira admins and waiting for them to do it in a week. I just do this in 15 minutes, and then I go. Next thing is programming. Again, customer code will always be on the first place, and the code for inside applications will be on the second place. Always. That's natural. But the thing is that some piece of code that might save you weeks of your work may sit there in the backlog of the team because the team has something else to do. For the customer, not for you. You're spending money. Customers bring in the money. So the customer pays. And you don't need to wait, actually. With the AI, you can try to leverage your skills, try to get them inside the team and do the code that you need yourself. And this also brings a lot of profits. Okay, you're resolving your issues, and that's fine, but you also are teaching yourself and your team to do some new things, to solve the problems in the new ways. That is like the T shape or M shape or something shape, like not the O shape, I think. You can also share this experience with the other teams, and they will like you more. And you can also share this experience on the conferences, like I'm doing right now. And finally, again, speaking with the business, if you need a production software for this, it's much easier to ask for it if you already have done something yourself. Because, again, you're just scaling it up, you're just asking for money to do like more for more money, but it's much easier than just asking it right from the get-go. Next thing we did is it's like the same bot, but for the bug type. It actually had like several types, like usability, performance, UX design. Basically, it allows us to do this. This is a beautiful graph. I like this also. Yeah, that shows that someday there were performance issues. Again, it does the same thing. It just like runs the bug information along the list of like UX bugs are those, performance issues have those words, etc. And then it just sets a custom field in Jira, which I made by myself, by the way. And it runs there, and yeah, it sets the type of bugs. And yeah, one more insight, anonymize your bots. That's the second good reason not to have your name anywhere. Because I've had a problem. We've used the API token of one of my employees for those bots. And I've, like 2-3 times a week, I've got some people nagging me about my employee is not doing his job correctly because he assigns the bugs to the teams that are not actually the right teams to do. Next thing I did, I created a notification manager in Jira, and this is a name that obviously says you that there is no real person there, and I used its API token, and suddenly people stopped nagging me about my employees and start suggesting help with the process, like how can we do that you will tag us correctly. I said, okay, like let's write some more text in the description of your team. Oh yeah, and by the way, the hardest thing that I needed to do in this process was not actual automation, not making bots. It was to find the tech leads of the teams and make them write down the responsibilities of their team. Like I've spent most of my time doing that. Next thing that we did is automated the bug transition. So there is a place where a report becomes a bug. What you should do is after you verified the report and you understood that this is a bug, you need to somehow drag it into your main bug project. The problem was that we didn't really want the teams to do this manually because they just won't do it because they have other things to do. So what we did, we did a very simple automation, and basically for the user it's like finding the label field in Jira and writing the word production to create a bug and feature request to create a feature request, and that's it. That's the whole thing the user needed to do with this. So this again helped us to drag the good reports that we really want to fix inside our project. Next things are Jira metrics. Of course, we want metrics because we need to see the big picture. And all of the previous steps helped us to create the fields that we can have to measure those things. And we started measuring like the teams. There are no teams here, but these are the statuses of the issues, actually, how they were closed. And we also had the graphs of like spikes by bike type and teams that do not close their issues properly, or the issues that are for too long in the statuses. And this is actually a living process. Once you start creating a metric, don't expect it to be like rock solid. This is some metric. This is not a golden signal that was created 50 years ago by people much more smarter than us. This is a thing that you've just invented, so metric or a living process. One more thing that I got from it is that no one expects this actually, but the metrics should be bad. Not in like bad metrics, but metrics should show that something is going not well. Because think of it, if you want to implement a metric, you want it to measure the process to then change this process. If you create a metric and it shows that everything is fine and dandy, you've just created the wrong metric. It doesn't show what you need. The problem with this is the teams do not expect that the metrics would be bad, they would, and the teams expect that they will be scolded for bad metrics. And sometimes they would. What you should actually do is expect this and work with the objections. So first of all, you need a desire to help the teams. You need to project this to the teams and to the higher-ups, because please do not let the higher-ups think that, okay, you found a new metric and everyone should be compliant with it like in a week. That won't work this way. Just explain to the teams that this metric is there to help them. Next thing we did is we actually set up regular meetings. This is called an operational rhythms. We've appointed some of the directly responsible persons for the metrics. We started to gradually improve those metrics with them using the regular meetings. And again, lots of insights today. Documentation is not enough. Don't just expect that you will write a very good, shiny documentation, post it, and everyone will read it. Okay, maybe, but no one will really comply with it. To work with the process, to implement new process, you need to go to each and every team and help them with doing this. Sit side by side and go with the process like 1 or 2 times, just do it with them. This helps you, first of all, to get your message about why are we doing this, because you can't force people, especially in IT, to do the things they do not understand why are they doing this. And we're paying your salary is not a good answer. Second thing is show how it's done correctly, so you won't be like, oh, they don't know how to set up the bug type. Why are they doing this? Because you haven't explained them, dummy. And finally, you can work with the objections of the teams. And you will need to do this actually with each and every team. We have 50 teams. I had 50 meetings with them. And you might think that this will be a good idea to just gather them on one meeting and explain it to them. Who thinks it's a good idea? Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, who of you have meetings longer than 1 hour on 50 plus people? Like regularly them? Okay, yeah. And who just pays attention for like a third of this meeting? That's the thing. No one. So no one will pay attention to your meeting on this stuff. You need to answer the questions that people are asking. Now, what you can do is you can do those meetings non-mandatory after the first time. Because after you show the team, you can say to them, okay, you can have a meeting with me next week to do the same thing, or you can come prepared and do not do this. And that's a great thing because they are now very intended to not come to another meeting and just do the thing. The next thing we've done are like a lot of further improvements. So we've made automatic notifications for the teams that need to come to the meeting. So if they do their job, getting the notification and not coming to the meeting, that's okay. We added some metrics in, I don't know how it's read in English, tableau. But we've actually added the metrics for the team system reviews just for them to be regularly reviewed. And we wrote a lot of manuals on the process just to explain each and every nook and cranny in it. And finally, it looks like this. Again, I will try to show you because I can't see there because of the sun. So basically, we get a report from a user. Then we get it automatically assigned to the team, and it is assigned to bug type. Then the team reviews it and sets it up either as a bug or as a duplicate or as a feature request, or just maybe close outright. For example, we just immediately close the issues with the text, because remember, without the text message, because remember self-sufficiency. I don't want to look through the issue just to understand what's happening. And we're tracking all of this on dashboards and intervene if the team has some problems with this. As a result, the processing of those tickets takes like 10 minutes twice a week for every team, and that's not a big time. They can actually find it. So we actually fulfilled all of our criteria that we had, because those you already heard about, and the classification representative now are done by the teams, but with much less effort than before. And after this, we went to scaling because we solved all of the problems that we have, and we want more problems because scaling brings problems. So this is the time when our CEO intervened and made one more incentives for our employees. So we got free rides for up to 100 euros, and this actually worked very well in some countries where people actually using our application, because you can just ride for free. And the thing we did is we did not ask users for reports. Okay, you just sign up for this program, and if you report the bugs, okay. If you don't, no problem. And this lowered the barrier of entry for this, because you don't need to commit that you will report 10 bugs per week or this will not. No, you're just using the application. You're just writing for free, and if you see a bug, maybe you can report this. And this actually increased the number of reports. Next thing we did, we expanded this program to 11 more countries, and this was almost painless actually, because we did this like in 2 weeks, and there were almost no there were problems with the reimbursements. And again, like I didn't want to have anything done with this, because like I don't want to work with people's money there if I'm not paid for this. But yeah, there were a lot of problems with the reimbursement and a lot of like bad language. But that's the story for the hallway. And the only problem we've encountered is actually, before we had Cyprus and Kazakhstan, most of the countries, most of the people there are Russian speaking, or we get some reports in English, and that was fine. But then we get the reports in Portuguese, in Arabic, and Hindu, and that was a problem. This would be a problem 2 years ago, but now all the instruments have integrated LLM translation in them. So that was not actually a big thing. And one more thing about languages. We've talked a lot with the guys from Instabox Software, and they have a tremendously good customer support. And what I got from this is there is a world of difference between I can speak a language and I know how to solve my problems effectively in a language. Because good English gets you miles away from the competitors. You can just talk a little bit, and you can negotiate, you can explain your problems much faster on a 15-minute call, and not in a 20 to 30 emails and chat messages. And it really helps out. And also, like, the golden rule is take care of the people. Always take care of the people. Because you can promptly reply to their messages, you can negotiate normally, and you can like not set the meetings on 4 a.m. US time, so that also gets you miles. And the most interesting thing, the project results. Okay, now, not the most interesting thing for you. I will be doing the same talk at the managerial conference. This will be the most interesting thing for them. But for you, there was the tech stuff. Okay, so boring stuff for the managers. Key figures. We had, that got messed up. 6,000 of reports, 1,000 of participants. We found, from those reports, 470 unique bugs. 126 were fixed as of last month, and not surprisingly, among the top reporters, business developers, product managers, and the CDO. But a good example of a fix that we've done was in Brazil. We actually had a lot of reports from users that our application freezes, but none of our tech data showed this. And everything changed when we gave the build to some of the business developers there, and they rode with the drivers. And what they found out is that because of the quirks of the local internet, the speed was too slow. So the users saw that our application was loading for 1 or 2 minutes with this kind of loader, and they just closed it up and restarted it, and then it went again. So it was not actually a bug, because it's the expected behavior of the application to show the loader, but you can't explain this to the user. They will just close the application because it's a mobile app, it's much more personal. So what we did was we found out those issues, and we found out the logs and the problems and the problematic service. We've redesigned some of our interface for this. We've stopped going to some of the servers, and again, we found them in the logs of Instabug. And we actually stopped getting the freeze messages more than usual from Brazil, and the number of successful trips went up, and these can be measured in money. But the most important thing we learned is the process, because we learned a lot of new skills. Our teams have learned a lot of new skills. We created an automation system that allowed us to process thousands of bugs without any of the people's involvement, and we've implemented it to some areas, like release. Now, before the release testing, before even the regression testing, we just deploy our build to the employees, and they're testing it for us, and actually they have found several of the critical bugs before we even started the regression testing. Next thing that we've actually implemented this are field testing. Remember, it's hard to report the bugs, you need 3 people there, it's hard to process the bugs. Well, not anymore, apparently, because we can have the rate shake to report the bugs, we can have Jira issues to process them, we can have 2 people in the car instead of 3, and actually we're starting new field testing next week. So this is a thing that was made possible. But finally, what we did was started proper beta testing, and that one bit me in the ass, because this was, we needed a new name for a new project. Now it's called, I think, Pub. So yeah, it might have been called better, but the thing that we understood is, as we may launch the application for our employees, we can launch this for our users, and it's much better because our employees, our application gets most of its money from the drivers, because drivers pay us for a commission of some sum. But our employees are usually not drivers. They usually, like, they work in IT and they're driving just for fun. And that's why we wanted to deploy this to users, and we actually launched this in like 2 weeks. We made an A/B experiment and launched the problem, rolled it out to rolled the product to 10K users, and in 3 days we found almost 1 million users with those devices that I showed you in the beginning of the speech that have our applications. Those were drivers, paying customers, had our application crashing like 20 times a day. Imagine being a driver. And like 20 times a day is not like 20 hours, it's like 8 to 14 hour work days. So yeah, that's a problem because you pay for this. And we actually fixed this problem, raised the crash-free rate up 1%, I think. And we finally made it in like months, maybe months and a half. So we haven't heard about this problem for years. But this helped us, the logs and everything that we have, helped us to find this problem and to solve it for like 1 million users. It's 1/60th of our monthly auditory. And now we can not only get 1,000 users from our employees, but we can have tens or hundreds of thousands of users from our regular customers. And that's much better, actually. So that's why we actually stopped the reimbursement program, because we just don't need so much rise from users anymore, but we're still getting feedback. It's like 100 feedbacks per week, so that's quite nice. And yeah, beta is now an important but not critical process for us. So, of course, this is not for everyone. So I will tell you about our shortcomings and limitations. So first of all, you need technical support. This is a project, and every public project with a lot of users needs a dedicated technical support. I've got the reports from the users that weren't able to log in at the start of the program, or they changed their phone number and they needed to do something with this. And we didn't actually have the manpower to do this. So some of the users, I think like around 5% of them, did not continue to use the application in this way just because of solvable problems that needed maybe like 30 minutes to address each. So that's a lot. If you have a possibility to add technical support there, please do. Second thing is employees are not users. You're not actually a representative. If you're an employee of a company, you're not actually using your software in the same way that the user is supposed to. Okay, no. If you're working at JetBrains Maybe yes. You're using the software to do software. But other than that, the patterns of our users, the devices that our employees do, the conditions in which they're using those devices differ from our users. So don't mix it up with one another. Reporting and feedback. You need to report what happened with your issue if you want this program to be much more successful than ours was actually. Because I've heard a lot of reports from the users that just stopped reporting because they didn't know what happened. So they reported a bug and what's with it? Was it closed? Was it okay? Was it not? It's actually quite a simple automation that we didn't do. So if you want to scale this up for a lot of employees, think about this thing. About data. Too little data is bad. Too much data is much worse. Just if you get millions of reports, you will drown in data. All the teams will drown in data, and important things will get lost. So first of all, limit the number of the reports, then automate the hell out of it, and only then you can come to the team and suggest them to use your system. And finally, it's not suitable for everyone actually. Dogfooding does not work well for B2B solutions or some business solution, and please, I beg you, do not use Dogfooding to test MRI software. And just some quick conclusions. Start small and work in iterations. I'm playing Captain Obvious here, basically. Get closer to real users. It's much more interesting there. Provide your higher-ups with solutions, not questions. Hoard the expertise inside your team. Take care of people, always explain to them, automate for them, do things for them, they will like you for this. And finally, sometimes 5% of gold or worse digging through 95% of trash. That's it, and I'm open for questions. Okay, yeah.
Arsenyi, can I stop for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Let's have beers with questions now, okay?
Okay, yeah, beers with questions.
20 minutes till 9. Let's get back